Nintendo is filing patents right now that could change the entire gaming industry, and not in a good way. And yes, this could even impact the Persona series, the dating simulator that you all know and love. These aren't just small legal moves, they could affect how games are made, how developers create, and even how much freedom studios have to innovate without getting blocked or shut down. Nintendo, one of the most influential and iconic names in gaming history, has been filing, and in some cases attempting to file, new patents that have the potential to reshape the industry. On the surface, patents are supposed to protect creativity and ensure companies can safeguard their hard work. But these particular filings are raising a lot of eyebrows. They don't just feel like protection, they feel like control. And that's where the controversy starts. Fans, creators, and even legal experts are starting to ask, is Nintendo pushing too far? Could these moves create roadblocks for other studios, discourage innovation, and even threaten the future of beloved franchises like Persona? In today's video, we're diving deep into exactly what Nintendo is trying to patent, why these moves are so controversial, and what the long-term consequences could be for not just one company or one series, but the entire gaming landscape. So whether you're a casual player, a die-hard fan, or someone who's just fascinated by the business of games, this is a story you'll want to pay attention to because it could change the future of video games as we know them. To understand why this is such a big deal, we need to talk about patents. A patent gives the inventor an exclusive legal right to make, use, and sell an innovation for a limited time. In video games, patents have been granted for everything from the Sega-owned loading screen minigames to the rumble feature in controllers. But where it gets murky is when a company tries to patent a core gameplay mechanic, something that's been in use across the industry for decades. This is exactly what's happening now, and the backstory is all about Palworld. When Pocket Pair's Pokémon with guns exploded in popularity, it immediately drew legal scrutiny from Nintendo and the Pokémon company. While that lawsuit is still ongoing, this new patent seems to be a direct consequence of it. It's a strategic move by Nintendo to solidify its legal position, but its broad language has legal experts and developers worried that it's a weapon that could be used against many more games than just Palworld. The patent in question, US patent number 12,403,397, covers a system for summoning a sub-character and causing it to battle. While the language is highly technical, it's designed to protect the Let's Go auto battle mechanic from Pokémon Scarlet and Violet. But the problem is that this patent could be interpreted to cover a staggering number of games that rely on summoning, from established franchises like Elden Ring and Final Fantasy to every single indie game with a monster taming or necromancer element. The industry is worried that this isn't about protecting Nintendo's own creations, but about stifling competition by making a common gameplay loop legally risky for others. This isn't Nintendo's only recent move in its legal battle. They've also been granted another patent, US patent number 12,409,387, which covers the smooth switching of writing objects. While this may seem less impactful than the summoning patent, it's another piece of a larger legal strategy. This patent is also aimed at mechanics seen in Palworld, specifically the seamless way a player can switch from a ground mount to a flying mount. The summoning patent in particular has many in the industry concerned, as it could directly threaten established games outside of the monster taming genre. A prime example is the Persona series. In games like Persona 5, the protagonist Joker can summon different personas to fight on his behalf in battle. This core mechanic fits within the broad language of Nintendo's patent, causing concern about potential legal challenges. Other major RPGs with summoning systems such as Final Fantasy and even games with a necromancer class like Diablo could also theoretically be targeted. These patents are not just about protecting Nintendo's IP, but about asserting ownership over fundamental gameplay mechanics that have existed for years, which could have a chilling effect on future game development and innovation. So let's go over the summoning patent. This has been making rounds in the gaming world recently. I just found about it recently from the Big Moist Man, and it sounds pretty bad and gives me even more reasons to hate Nintendo. Now, I don't know if it's pronounced patent or patent, but I'm just gonna, pronounce it as patent for now. It's called patent number 12,403,397, as I mentioned before. So let's get onto it. The patent is officially titled storage medium, information processing system, information processing apparatus, and game processing method, and it was granted to Nintendo and the Pokémon Company. The patent abstract describes an information processing system that moves a player character on a field based on a movement operation input. The information processing system causes a sub-character on the field based on a first operation input. When an enemy character is placed at a location where the sub-character is caused to appear, the information processing system controls a battle by a first mode in which the battle proceeds based on an operation input. When the enemy character is not placed at the location, the information processing system starts automatic control of automatically moving the sub-character. The information processing system moves the sub-character based on a second operation input, and when the enemy character is placed at a location of a designation, the information processing system controls a battle by second mode in which the battle automatically proceeds. In simple terms, this patent isn't just about summoning a character, it's about a very specific two-part system. Imagine you're playing a game and you press a button to summon a character. There could be two scenarios. Scenario A, if you summon it right next to an enemy, a regular turn-based battle begins, which you control. Scenario B, if you summon it in an empty area, that character automatically starts to move on its own. You can then give a second command to send it off in a specific direction where it will automatically fight any enemy it encounters. This patent is about the unique combination of these two different battle modes. Now that begs the question, what about the Persona series? They summon personas all the time. That's a great question, and the answer is that the Persona games are in the clear for the most part, I think. Their summoning and battle mechanics are completely different. In Persona, you summon your persona on a separate battle screen, and the battles are almost entirely turn-based and player-controlled. There's no mechanic where you send your persona off on its own to auto-battle enemies on a main world map. Yes, you can auto-battle enemies during combat, but there's just no way to summon a persona when you're navigating through the world. Because the patent is so narrowly focused on that very specific dual mode system, it's not a threat to a series like Persona. Persona just doesn't have that other mode where you can summon your persona outside of battle, from the main games as I can remember. So while Persona is safe mostly, this patent still has a lot of people in the gaming industry worried, especially smaller developers. Why? Because the very specific combination of mechanics it protects might be used by a wide range of other games. This could lead to legal headaches and a chilling effect on innovation. But what does a chilling effect really mean? It's when the threat of a legal action from a large company like Nintendo is enough to discourage a small studio from even attempting to create a game with similar mechanics. This patent, because of its broad language, could be used as a legal weapon. It's not about winning every case, but about making the cost of fighting lawsuit so high that it's simply not worth the risk. This is particularly relevant given the ongoing situation with a certain monster catching game, Palworld. While this patent doesn't directly mention Palworld, the mechanics it describes are so similar to the monster catching and auto battle features in that game that it's so easy to see how it could be used as a part of a legal strategy. We also see similar mechanics in other games like Let's Go feature in Pokémon Scarlet and Violet, which is the system this patent is designed to protect. But we also see similars in games like Digimon World, where you send your Digimon out to fight, or even with the Spirit Summons in Elden Ring, where you send a ghostly ally to fight alongside you. Even though the core gameplay is different, the concept of sending a sub-character to battle automatically is present in many games, and now that concept is in question. It's basically targeting the very basic mechanic of what summoning is. To truly understand the issue, we have to go back to the patent's exact wording. The problem isn't actually the idea of summoning, which is ancient in gaming. The issue is the very specific sequential logic the patent claims. It's a chain of events. A player moves on a field, performs a first input to summon a character, and based on whether an enemy is there, one of two things happens. If an enemy is present, a turn-based battle begins. If no enemy is present, the sub-characters start to move automatically and a second player input directs it to a location for an auto battle. As far as I know, there's not many games that adopt that sequential logic of summoning. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But many game developers are concerned that this legal language could be interpreted more broadly in court. The fear is that a powerful legal team could argue that a game's mechanics, even if they don't exactly match every single step, are substantially similar, and thus infringe on the patent. This uncertainty alone is enough to make a small studio second guess itself. They might choose to remove a feature or scrap an entire game idea just to avoid the possibility of a legal battle they could never afford to fight. Nintendo could just use their big legal power like they always do to say in court that they basically patented the summoning system in games. Even if the term sounds specific, who's to say that they just won't claim the summoning like it's their own creation? This is Nintendo we're talking about. Think about all the games with some sort of summoning or pet control. In an MMO like World of Warcraft, a warlock summons a demon and directs it to attack. In an action RPG like Diablo, a necromancer summons an army of skeletons that automatically engage enemies. This patent could potentially give Nintendo the legal grounds to challenge a wide variety of gameplay loops that have been standard for years. It's not just about one company, it's about a legal precedent that could dramatically change how games are designed and monetized in the future. Now I want to talk about a different patent as well. I know this is supposed to be a Persona related video, but I just want to let you all know how greedy and anti-creative Nintendo really is. Let's break down a recent patent that's also a crappy move from Nintendo. US patent number 12,409,387, granted to Nintendo and the Pokémon company. On the surface, the title sounds like pure legal jargon. Non-transitory, computer-readable storage medium having stored therein game program, game system, information processing apparatus, and information processing method. This mouthful of a title is what patent attorneys use to describe the technical scope of the invention, ensuring it is legally precise and non-ambiguous. Stripping away the legalese, the patent is for a system and method within a game. The abstract describes a program that controls a player character's movement in a virtual space. It's about a character boarding an object, like an aerial one, and the game automatically handling the transition to a ground-based state when the character moves toward the ground. Think of it as the core logic that governs how you smoothly get from flying to running. The legal claims that define the patent scope are even more specific. They detail a method for, first, controlling a player's character's movement on a field. This involves the foundational process of taking a player input, like from a joystick or a keyboard, and translating that into the character's motion in the game world. Second, allowing them to board either a ground or aerial object. This could be anything from hopping onto a horse-like creature on the ground to mounting a dragon or an airship. Third, detecting a transition from that aerial state towards the ground. This is a critical step as the game's code must recognize a change in the character's vertical position and velocity. And finally, automatically changing the character's state to a ground-based mode or object. This is the payoff, where the game executes the seamless switch from one form of movement to another without the player needing to press another button. Basically, this patent isn't about the act of flying or riding itself, but the seamless automatic switch between those different states without the player having to do anything manually. It's a technical process that makes the game feel more fluid and natural. To put it in plain English, imagine you're playing a game and you're soaring through the air on a flying creature or using a glider. As you get closer to the ground and land, the game automatically switches your character from the flying animation to a running or walking animation. This patent covers the intelligent system that makes that happen, instead of a jarring, abrupt transition where you might suddenly snap from the air to the ground. The patented method ensures it's a fluid, uninterrupted experience. It's about taking away the clunky feeling of having to press a button to dismount just before you touch down. This kind of smooth switching is a subtle but important element of modern game design that enhances player immersion and makes the game world feel more responsive. This same concept could apply to a racing game where a vehicle transitions from a road to a water surface, or a battle royale game where a character's glider disengages and they begin running automatically. The core idea is to remove the friction of moving between different gameplay mechanics, a goal of many modern game designers. So why is this very concerning? The issue lies in the broadness of the patent and what it could mean for the future of game development. First, this patent could be seen as an embarrassing failure of the US patent system. The patent system is supposed to protect truly novel and non-obvious inventions. In legal terms, an invention must not be obvious to a person of ordinary skill in the art. This means if a seasoned game developer would have logically thought of the solution, it shouldn't be patentable. However, the mechanics of switching between riding objects, like from a flying mount to a running mount, are arguably concepts that have been around in various forms for a long time. Granting a patent on such a fundamental and seemingly obvious concept could set a dangerous precedent, inviting other companies to seek protection for basic gameplay building blocks. Second, this patent creates a massive shadow of legal uncertainty. For a large company like Nintendo, it serves as a powerful legal tool that could be used against smaller studios. The threat of a multi-million-dollar lawsuit, even if the case is weak and the patent's validity is questionable, can be enough to force a small developer to change their game's mechanic or abandon a feature altogether. This is a form of legal intimidation, often leading to a chilling effect on innovation, where indie developers become afraid to implement common or intuitive features for fear of legal action they cannot afford to fight. Ultimately, instead of competing through superior game design and innovation, a large company could use a broad patent to consolidate dominance and intimidate smaller players. This doesn't just impact a single game, it affects the entire industry. When companies begin patenting the very fundamentals of gameplay, it makes it harder for everyone else to create and thrive. It turns intellectual property from a tool for protecting unique ideas into a weapon for winning what some call IP warfare in the courtroom. This type of legal strategy risks stifling the very creativity that makes the video game industry so vibrant and exciting. Here's the bigger picture. Nintendo's latest patent spree isn't just about Pokémon or Palworld. It's part of a growing trend where major companies are trying to fence off gameplay concepts that really should belong to the entire industry. These aren't hyper-specific innovations like a new piece of hardware or a brand new rendering technique. These are fundamental mechanics like summoning allies, riding mounts that can transition into flight, or projecting creatures into the real world with AR. When things this basic are treated like corporate property, the danger goes so far beyond one game or one lawsuit. The danger is that entire genres of games stop evolving because developers are too scared to even experiment. For us Persona enjoyers, that's a pretty chilling thought. One of the reasons Persona has stood out in the JRPG space is because Atlus wasn't afraid to experiment and push boundaries. Things like fusing the dungeon crawling of Shin Megami Tensei with a high school life simulator in Persona 3, or leaning into mystery solving and social bonds in Persona 4, or adding stealth-based dungeon design and a striking visual style in Persona 5. If patents like Nintendo's become more aggressively enforced, those kinds of bold risks might never even make it past the brainstorming stage. That could mean we never get to see the next leap forward in how a Persona game plays, feels, or even interacts with us as players. Zooming out to the wider industry, the implications are even more alarming. Think about indie developers, small studios that often bring us the most surprising and creative games. They don't have the legal budgets to fight Nintendo in court, even if they have strong defenses like prior art on their side. Just the threat of a lawsuit could be enough to scare them off, and when indies stop experimenting, the entire ecosystem of gaming creativity gets worse. Even mid-size or large studios might choose to play it safe, sticking to tried and true formulas instead of risking a mechanic that could spark legal headaches. The result is an industry that feels safer for corporations, but far less exciting for gamers. Games thrive when developers feel free to innovate, not when they're walking on eggshells around patents. Nintendo's recent filings show just how quickly that freedom can shrink if companies start locking down ideas that should remain open. The patents might not immediately kill Persona, Final Fantasy, or long-running RPG series, but they create a climate of fear where experimentation is punished and the sameness is rewarded. And if we let that trend continue unchecked, the long-term cost is huge. Fewer risks, fewer breakthroughs, and fewer games that genuinely surprise us. Atlus and Persona might not be in direct danger today. The creative world they exist in absolutely is. So it's actually a really scary world where the big bad Nintendo is taking over the industry and just blocking out all sorts of innovation. I hope it doesn't get worse from here, and I also hope that Nintendo will just stop being so anti-consumer and anti-innovation. That is all. I'll see ya.